this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I have a fun challenge for you. Over at 3 Girl Jam on the challenge blog, we are starting a new challenge. It's called Anything Goes Craft with Ribbon. So I pulled out my favorite craft cardstock, and unfortunately it was the very last full sheet that I had, so I think it's time to order some more. But my favorite craft cardstock, at least for now, is the paper tray ink craft. I love it, and I'll show you what I've done with it in just a minute. Let me show you what else I'm using. I use this Hampton Art pigment ink, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. From 3 Girl Jam, I am going to be using 2 gorgeous ribbons, and these are some of the newest release. This one is from the Royal Bundle, and this is Purple Passion, and this one is from the Navy Bundle, and this is Dress White. So we're going to be using those. I have this washi tape, and this washi tape, I'm not sure what brand it is. It's some that I actually picked up in the office supplies section over at Target several months ago, back in the fall, I think, of last year. And this is purple, and then purple with white with purple polka dots. I'm going to be using some foam squares. I have already done some die cutting using this Stampin' Cut set from Hero Arts, and I just used the die cut, the balloon itself. I'm not doing any stamping with that. And then my sentiment is from the Hero Arts All Occasion Messages set. So let's get started on the card. To start with, I've cut my base at 5.5 by 11. I'm going to show you the inside of the card before we get too far into it. This it says happy birthday, and I know you can barely see it. I don't know about you, but I've really had a difficult time finding a white ink that I absolutely love. This one's not bad. I initially went over it because it's a pigment ink. I thought it doesn't show up great, so I was going to go over it with white embossing powder, and actually I did go over it with white embossing powder, but apparently it's not pigment enough for it to really adhere to. So despite the fact that I dried it really well, that it just did not adhere well. So I think you can see it fine. It's just kind of a soft, but someday I'm hoping I'll find the perfect white ink. Then I took some of my washi tape, and I just did little strips of it, and I did 2 of the polka dot and 1 of the solid, because that's the opposite of what I'm going to do on the outside of the card. Now this technique is not original with me. I actually recently saw Christina from Creations with Christina on YouTube do a similar technique, or the same technique using totally different scheme. But when I saw it, I thought, ooh, I really like that, and I'm going to try it with balloons. She actually did it with clouds, and I do have a cloud die, so someday I may try it with that. But I thought I would do it with balloons. So I've already die cut 3 of my balloon sets, and I actually have this piece that's just a hair, and when I say hair, I mean a hair smaller than my card base, because I didn't want a whole lot of card base showing, and plus to get 3 balloons on, these were just big enough that I had to be really careful. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to put light pencil marks at the top, sides, and bottom of each balloon, so I know where to do my next step, so to speak. So I'm just going to put this here, and I just want to be sure that I have plenty here to cover what I'm trying to cover. So I have these little pencil marks here, and this is where we're going to start. I'm going to take this washi tape, and I'm just going to cover this, making sure that I go just outside of the lines of each piece, just like this. Oops, and I didn't cut that long enough, so I'll just set that aside. Now, I think the tricky part for me is going to be, I didn't cut that one long enough either. Boy, good thing I have plenty of this. Let's go really wide here. The tricky part for me, personally, is going to be not overlapping between these 2, because my balloons are so close together. So that's going to be the trickiest part. As you can see, I'm kind of lining those up. Now, I need to come in here and I need to pull these up on the edge. And I think I'm just going to take my little scissors here and go at an angle because I don't want that to show below. So find my second pencil mark here. Let's see. May even have to get, that's fine. I think I'm good right about there. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to double check. If I was using the same washi tape, it wouldn't be a problem. But using different washi tapes, I have to be really careful. Okay, so there we have the first one. So now let's move to the next ones. These two balloons on the bottom, I wanted to do the solid color tape. So on this one, it doesn't matter if I overlap from balloon to balloon because they're the same color. So as you see, I'm kind of going at an angle here just so that I'm sure that I'm getting it all on there. And like I said, it really doesn't matter if I overlap as long as I don't have ragged edges. Like on this one, I'm going to have a ragged edge here and I don't want that. So let's kind of tear that like so because I don't want ragged edges to show. And this, just do just a tad bit of overlapping there. I think we'll be fine. The nice thing about washi tape, if you've used it, or paper tape or whatever you want to call it, is that it comes up really easy. So it's very, very, very forgiving. So let's go with one more strip. And you're going to see in, looks like that strip actually is just going to have to go. It's just not fitting correctly. You're going to see probably some lines. I don't think it's going to be as noticeable in the solid, in the printed washi as it's going to be in the solid washi. So I don't want to have really, I don't want the lines to be a focal point, so I am going to have to be a bit careful with that, just to make sure that it all turns out right. Now I know, and you know, that this is really messy, but since that's all going to be covered up, it really doesn't matter. Now before I clean that all up, let's make sure that we're gonna fit correctly. Oops, I did it upside down. Nope, I didn't do it upside down. I did it the right way. Okay, so now you can see where my mistakes are. So my solid is just fine, but this piece needs replaced and both the bottom pieces need replaced, as well as many other pieces. So just like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera for just a minute, and I will work on getting them all on there just how they should be, just so you don't get bored watching this. And I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, I've got quite a mess here, and I had to pull my craft knife out to, even though I had marked it off, by using the different colors, I had to be really careful, because where you see the overlapping here, I had to be sure that wasn't coming through the balloons. So now we're just going to set that piece aside and go back to our solid piece, and this is where some of the fun is going to happen. I have here a Jelly Roll pin by Sakura, and I am just going to make dash lines all the way around the edge, just because I want that little bit of pop. Now, I have discovered with this pen before, even though I like it, it's like you use it for a little while and then it quits flowing, and so you have to scribble it a little bit. That's just the way it is. Okay, so we're done with that, or in this case, maybe I just needed to go faster. I don't know. So that's kind of cute. Now comes the fun part with the ribbon. So what I've decided to do is we're going to start with this piece of Purple Passion. And I'm cutting it a little bit longer than I need to just because I don't want to run out. And I'm going to start by putting this first piece back in the back, just like so. And I have to be careful here because at this point I do not want it to, I want to tape it down like that, but I don't want the tape to show through. So we're just going to cut some of that tape off, just like that. Maybe I should have probably grabbed my craft knife there. And then, well, probably my craft knife would be a little bit easier. Just pull this off, just like this. Now I have to say, I think this would really be adorable as well if you did faux stitching around to do your balloon threads. But this is an anything go challenge with ribbon, isn't it? So that wouldn't work for this, but that is another option that you have. It would be a very simple option and it would still make an adorable card. But if you have the chance to play with gorgeous ribbon, let's do it, right? So I'm going to put 2 pieces of this dress white here. And again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring it to the back. Another thing that you could do if you didn't want to use tape, as I am doing here, is you could also just maybe use a little bit of glossy accents or a little bit of your Scotch Quick Dry. Either of those would be really good alternatives to using tape on the back. I just didn't want to wait for that to dry to finish the video. So that's why I opted to do it this way. So now we've got these balloons hanging, or these balloon tails hanging down. And my initial thought was to go through and twist them. But I think instead I'm just going to go ahead and tie them into a small bow. And I think I'm going to go with the purple. Just because it's purple and I love purple, and purple is our accent, or our main other color with the craft. It's our accent as far as the ribbon goes, and this will kind of give us multiple ribbons of the same. So I'm going to just tie that, and I don't believe that I am going to tie it into a bow. I think what I'm going to do is just leave it into a knot. And then we'll have lots of ribbon. Sorry, I went off camera there. And we'll just pull that down. Now I'll trim all that off in a little bit, but let's go ahead and move on to the next part of our card. Making sure I've pulled that down. There we go. Lots of movement in there. Isn't that pretty? So the next part that I want to do is I want to, rather than using regular adhesive, which would be fun, but I decided I wanted to use some foam squares, just because they're not big foam squares, they're relatively small ones, but I want to give just that little extra bit of dimension. Now, because I'm popping the whole thing up, I am going to be very, very generous. In fact, I thought about initially using my foam tape that I use from Scotch, but I decided that these squares might be a little bit simpler to work with because they're so tiny. Okay, now that was without a doubt a lot of foam squares, wasn't it? So before I adhere it, there is one thing that I see here. I still see just a tiny bit of that tape coming through. So I'm going to trim that off. There we go. We don't want to mess that up. So now we will put down our cover. I'm going to do it from the up, kind of top up, just because those ribbons are getting in my way of seeing. Just like that. Okay, so we've got our balloons. Now, as I look at this, to me, those don't really look like balloons. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to go ahead and untie my bow, or my knot. Remember, I didn't use a bow, because the ribbons are thick enough that you kind of lose that feel of a balloon because you can't see the whole shape of the balloon. So what I'm going to do is just twist this around, just like so, and then you'll be able to tell that it's a balloon. Now, to hold that down, what I'm going to do is I am going to grab some glue dots here. I'm just going to roll this one between my fingers and just put that right over the top so it holds down that first one. Then I'm going to do the same with the second, and that will hold that right down the top. I'll probably want another glue dot, of course, but I just don't want too many here, so I'll roll this second one down. There we go. And that looks more like ribbon balloon, or balloons that you would find on, or ribbon that you would find on balloons, so that you can see the shape of the balloon itself. Now, I could go ahead and put that little piece back on that I originally did. However, I think what I'm going to do instead is over here on the side, I have this little piece of, it's almost like a waxed cord. Oops, and that one came up. There we go. I have this little piece of wax cord, and this actually is trash. It's not trash. It's going to look adorable. But what it actually is some, I worked on some tags the other day, and this was the original wax cord that was holding the tags. And that will be the perfect tie to tie our balloons together with just a teeny tiny bow rather than the ribbon, so that you can see the shape of the balloons. Just like that. Adorable. Trim that, and now I'm going to trim up the tails of my ribbon. Now, for me, I personally don't mind the fact that my ribbon hangs off the edge of the card. It will still fold and go into my envelope however I would like, and I still get to see that gorgeous 3 Girl Jam ribbon. So I'm going to put another glue dot underneath just to be sure that everything is staying where it belongs. I think glue dots are great for holding down ribbons and bows and things. And there we have our fun little card. So the outside is the birthday balloons. You open up the inside and it says happy birthday. So thanks so much for stopping by today. And remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.